with activity 1. Now in the exam, you'll be getting a Microsoft Word document, which looks something like this, and it has all the sections that you need to fill in for the exam, and they're all under the headings of the activity number. You'll notice that each activity will have a name as well as the time that they recommend you or that they advise you to spend on it. And this is the information that we will use for filling in the planning for activity 1. So as you can see, activity 1 has an initial task plan, and to do that you need to create a Gantt chart. Now on Teams, I have put in an example task booklet answer. So this document, I've taken this and filled in example answers to give you the idea of what needs to go in here. So for this one, you fill in the information using a Gantt chart. And I strongly suggest that you do a copy from Excel. So you highlight the documents and then you paste it as an image. So we'll give that a try. Remember that there are 6 activities in this exam. And what you need to do is fill in the name of the activities here. And under there, you have the planned and the actual. And you also put in, you fill in the number of hours, which for most of you will be 12 hours. Those of you who have extra exam time, then you can just add in the additional hours as you see fit. But the official hours for everyone will be 12 hours for everyone who has the normal exam time. And so you will use that for your planning. So as you can see, we've got the initial task plan here that we need to fill up. And this information is taken from the task booklet. So we can see activity 1, 1.5 hours. Activity 2, also 1.5 hours. I'll just zoom in a bit here. Activity 2. Activity 3, 2.5 hours, and so on. And you can see what I've done is I've got an activity 1 with the name of the activity there. I put the planned and the actual. So what you do is for planned, remember it's at 1.5 hours. So we've got 1.5 hours, 3 blocks. So right now, this uses 30 minutes per block, which is probably the best time balance of how much time and trouble it will be to fill it up versus how much detail you want to show. So I strongly recommend then that you should use 30 hours per block. And let's start filling it in. So here is an example. We'll just start to fill it in again. What we'll do is I will call it a Gantt chart. 1, 2, right. So number 1 is task planning and system design changes, right? And where do we get the name of that from? Well, it is in the task booklet that's given to us. So you will see activity 1, task planning, system design changes. The next one is task 2, which is analysis of the brief. So as you can see, it's all been filled in here. So I'm going to construct it again. What I'm going to do is under the main activity number, I have a planned and an actual. Next one, I'll do analysis of the brief. Again, a planned and actual. Oops. Next line for the actual. Number 3, systems design. And just to make sure that's what it is. So systems design, it says systems design, and it gives you the hours as well. So I've got activity, systems design, planned, and actual. And I fill this in for all the, planned, and the next line is actual. And I fill it in for all 6 of the activities. Now, for the first column, expand it so it fills in, or it has enough space to accommodate the longest title, which I think is number 1. And on this side, then we can start filling in the hours. So you can maybe call it, we can put the hours there. And we'll start with this one, which is basically 0 to half an hour. Okay, so you can start with a 0, and then the next one will be 0.5. So the first half hour, 0 to half an hour, will be the first column. Next one is 0.5. That means it's half an hour to 1 hour. 1, will be 1 hour to 1.5 hours, and so on. And what I will do is, at this point, I really do not want to have the thing quite so wide because it's hard to fill it in. It just takes up so much space. So I want to narrow the columns. So let's say I'll do it this way. Column width, and let's see what will work. I think 0.5 was okay. No, too narrow. All right, so it's probably 2. So we'll do that. Yeah, so setting it to 2 is just the right width. Now, here's probably the fastest way of doing it. I will do a copy. So I'll highlight the column in this way. I do a C for copy. I will move my mouse here and right click, and I will paste. I will insert copied cells. And now I've got a second one there. So don't worry about the numbers, we'll fill that in later. But now I've got 2 convenient columns. I'll right click there, and I need to copy that again. And I will right click, and I will insert copied cells. So now I've got 3 with the right format. Same thing. I will insert the copied cells there. No, I need to do the copy again. Copy and insert copied cells. So now I got 4. I'll just delete the hours there again. So I will now highlight all 4, Control C to copy, and now I paste, and now I've got 8. And we can do this, we'll need 12 hours. So since we're doing half an hour, we'll need 24. So now I've got 8 of that. I'll copy, Control C to copy. I'll click here, right click, insert copied cells. I've got 16 now. And not sure why it doesn't appear there, but anyway, I will copy the 8 again, Control C to copy. Right click, insert copied cells. So now I have 24. Right, and what I can do is I can put on top here hours. So now for the hours, I'll fill in 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5, leave a space, 6, leave a space, 7, leave a space, 8, leave a space, 9, leave a space, 10, leave a space, 11, leave a space, 12. So now I've got 12 hours there. Now, what I'm going to do is use this first one for the first half hour. Then this one will be 1 hour, up to 1 hour. Then this will be up to 1.5 hours. Now, so the way that I do that is, for my planning, it says for the first one, for activity 1, to spend no more than 1.5 hours. So I'm going to use 1.5 hours there. I'm going to highlight that from here, half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and I will fill it in with a particular color that I like. I'll choose blue, for example. So this is 3 blocks and it's 1.5 hours. Okay, for the second one, it will be also activity 2, analysis of the brief, also 1.5 hours here. So I will do the same thing, analysis of the brief. Now, look what happens. I'm going to take the next 3 blocks. So remember, each of these must always be flowing from the next one. So you never overlap. It needs to continue from the next one. Okay, now we move to activity 3, system design, and it says 2.5 hours. Right, so system design is there, 2.5 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and I fill it in. So again, they all have to follow one after the other without overlapping here. Okay, so, oops, okay, so made a mistake. You don't want it to be under the analysis, you want it under the plan. Okay, so I'm going to move that, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put it here. So same thing here as well. I'm going to cut that and move it there. So I've got that all under planned, right? And as you go along, you fill it in. So you do not make use of this chart to insert into your Word document until the end of the exam. So as you are just finishing in the last half hour or so, then what you do is that you will take a copy of this and then insert it in the Word document. So you need to do the rest of it for number 4 as well. Same thing, you can fill that in. Also the so the number 4, sorry, number 4, and what is number 4? Number 4 is, let's see, system assembly and programming, 2.5 hours. So it's system assembly and programming, and we have the planned, we want actual, and the planned is also 2.5 hours. So it's this line for the plan. 2.5 hours is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. I'm going to fill it again. Then number 5, what is number 5? Number 5 is system testing and results analysis, and it's 1.5 hours. So it's type in system testing and results analysis, and that you've got the planned and the actual, and the planned is 1.5 hours. So we use 3 blocks. And finally, we have system in operation, 2.5 hours. So finally, we put in system in operation, planned and actual. Now planned says 2.5 hours. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that reaches all the way to the end as expected. Okay, so now we've got all the way to the 12 hours, and we have our information for the Gantt chart in place, and you can use that now to show your planning. So you can pretty it up a little bit. I'm going to do borders all around. You can do different things as well. I'm going to move the justification to the right for these so it's a bit easier to see. And you don't have to do all of these things. You can also use your own colors that you wish. And you can also add in bolder lines on the outside. It's up to you. All you need to do really is to show that you have done the planning in a clear way. Now, as you go along, you would fill in the actual time that you spent on it. And don't worry, and in fact, it's good to show that the actual time has changed slightly from the planned time, and you can show the differences, and you can show maybe how you've caught up along the way. So, for example, maybe for the task planning and system design, if I didn't spend as much time on it, I just fill in something less. So let's say, what color shall I use? I'll use green. So let's say I only spent an hour, then that's fine. Then I immediately start, so it has to start with the next one, the analysis of the brief. And maybe the analysis of the brief I took also 1.5 hours, so I'll fill in 3 blocks. As soon as I finish the analysis of the brief, I would move on to the system design. And let's say I took 5 hours as well. So that is 2.5 hours. So that takes 5 blocks. So immediately from the end here, I will fill in 2.5 blocks, 5 blocks to show 2.5 hours, and so on for the rest of the steps. Okay. Now, when you are done, so I will just fill it in now based on just to give an example of how it's done. So as you go along, and let's say your system testing, and this is your total time. Right, so what you need to do now at the end of the exam, when you finish all the activities, is that you want to copy and paste this into your Word document. And this is how to do it. This is probably the easiest way. So now when you have finished everything, all you do is select that whole table that you want, Control C to copy it, and you'll see the dotted line around it. Okay, you bring it now to your task booklet where it says, and we'll just move up to the right point, which is here under activity 1. And so under the task plan, I move my cursor down and I will paste it. Okay, so I right click and paste options. What am I going to do? I'm going to choose this one, which is a picture U there. Okay, so I'm going to paste it in there. It's slightly too big, it's overflowing, so I'm just going to reduce the size so it fits in nicely. There we go. So now I've got, at the end of my exam, when you finish this, everything filled in nicely and it's pasted in your Word document. Okay, so to show you another example there, and just to remind you as well, copy it from Excel and paste it as an image. And in this one, I've got it slightly fancier with bolder lines on the outside of the table. Again, it's up to you how much you want to pretty it up. The main things are, you need to have a planned and an actual. You need to have one activity starting after the end of the previous one without any overlaps. And use 2 sets of colors. One color for the planned and another color for the actual. Doesn't matter what the color is, but as long as you are consistent and it's clear. The next thing you need to do as you go along is to fill in your activity log. And it says here, during each session, please complete the following logbook, duplicating the table as required. So in other words, you copy and paste. So if you click on here and there's this little square there, and if you do a right click on it, you can you can copy the table and just paste it for each session. Now, remember it says at the start to update the Gantt chart. So this is just reminding you to fill this in as you go along. Okay, but remember, you're not pasting this in until the end of the activity. This will be in an Excel document, which you need to keep by the side and update every time. Now, at the end of each session, now you will be having 4 days of 3 hours each. So you should have 4 entries here, or 4 logs, if you like. Those of you with extra time, you will have 5, so you can just fill this in at the end of each session, and you'll have 5 of them. And what you have to do is, again, to write the date, what you have done in the session, and issues encountered. Issues is a kind way of saying problems, and this is good because when you talk about your problems, you also talk about your solutions with the justification, and that is the way that you can impress the examiner to get the higher marks. Okay, always talk about your ideas for solutions and the reasons, the justification, why you think you should be doing this, and then plan for the next session. Right, now I've given you an example here again. So the instruction is, remember, put the date at the end of the day, at the end of the day. So I suggest at the end of each day, set aside maybe about 20 minutes to fill in all this information. What I have done in this session, well, you can write it in bullet points or in just flowing text. I would say bullet points are fine. It's shorter and it's quicker, and it's also easier for the examiner to see. You can say started and completed activity 3. I suggest as well that you add in the name and the title just to be more complete, and write in the things that you have done. Okay, the next one is issues encountered in this session with the solutions, with justification. So what you're doing now is you're showing, for example, let's say your LED connected to pin 11 did not light. So you tested it using a line of code, and you realize that you needed to set the pin to a digital output. So you set the line in and you solve the problem. So what you have done now is that you have described the issue, you have talked about the solution with the reason why it was the solution. Okay, again, I've handwritten some ideas. The justification as well is that how did you check that it worked? Or if you haven't got the thing working, you can just describe what you're trying to do and leave it for the next session to do. Okay, if you did anything more, fill in more bullet points talking about what you did. And finally, action points for the next session. So again, you would write then the next session, what do you want to do? So here is an example that's taken from the examiner's report, which gives you an idea of the kind of things that they are looking for. What they're looking for is clear planning, specific actions, and explain why. Again, why do you want to do this? What is next? And the reason may be, well, that is next on my list to do. Or you may say that you need to solve this problem before you can continue to do something else. So always try and fill in the justification, the reason, if you can. And that completes what you need to do for activity 1.